Now, let's look at some U.S. clampdown that's taking place. We got Twitter. Twitter kicked off the president of the United States is making sure you can't post anything about vaccines or about variants or anything really political or medical. He just kicked off. I don't have a Facebook account, but I think it's pretty much the same. And we know that what happened with Instagram. And there's really one place left that for some reason, they can't control. It's becoming very, very annoying to those that control the speech. ProPublica, journalist, I say that with emphasis, Lydia DePillis, wrote quite an article about the evilness of podcasting. That's what you and I can do. Yes, podcasting, because they can't control it. There is no social control over what these damn podcasters are saying. Oh, and this is a problem, and Apple is not being cooperative.
So how can it be that this kind of junk is allowed on Apple's podcast app, right, but not on Twitter, not on YouTube? What's the difference here?
Yeah, well, in America, we have this policy where we allow tech platforms to make their own rules as to what content they will allow. And
what a crazy country. Can you believe that, John? We have these weird rules in America where we let people decide what they want to do. And they're not like China, where this woman clearly takes her cues from, or where the government tells everybody, we got rules and regs.
Yeah, well, in America, we have this policy where we allow tech platforms to make their own rules as to what content they will allow. And the thing with podcasts is that it's a little bit different in that a company like Apple can say, we just list podcasts. We essentially run a directory. We don't host them. So that content is actually housed somewhere else, but we allow people to access it through our platform. So there's a little bit of a dodge that they do there. But they do have terms of service that says, here's what we will and won't allow. It's just very, very loose. And so a company like YouTube, which is Google, or Twitter has actually established pretty proactive policies in terms of election misinformation, which Apple just simply doesn't do at all.
Apple is not doing it right. So, they're trying to go after Apple very, very light touch because, I actually like my iPhone. I don't want to piss anybody off. Oh, they might not get the new beta. Because that's how these a-holes think. But the worst part of this woman is what comes next. And I'll just say this woman. I say with disdain.
Let's back up again and give us, who is this woman again?
Lydia DePillis from ProPublica.
ProPublica person. Okay.
Yes, a ProPublica person. Oh, they get a lot of airtime, the ProPublica people.
It's just like a group of idealist journalists.
You'll remember that David Korn launched the whole PP tape Russian collusion dossier on ProPublica.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I think that did it. That summarizes everything.
So all the things that she's about to say. So wait a minute,
hold on.
Yeah.
So we got another situation here where journalists are bitching and moaning about free speech. Are these the same journalists that don't like WikiLeaks because it reveals too many secret documents, which they should be happy to see? Or they're the same ones that slamming Snowden, or the same journalists? I'm thinking of Richard Engel in this case, who doesn't want to see the released CIA torture memo. These types of people. Yeah. So ProPublica is they're anti-journalists. Nice. Good for them.
She is advocating for shutting down speech that she doesn't agree with. That is her whole article. And, to say, well, Apple has a dodge here because they're just an index, but they have terms of service. They're not following all that. Blah. But what blows me away is this journalist, who I'm going to presume is a technology journalist. What she says next is the biggest pile of horse crap in the world.
There's obviously been so much discussion, particularly I think you're seeing it on the conservative side, discussion about cancel culture, deplatforming, right? Where is free speech, et cetera. It seems like, as you report, it may just be a matter of time before there is a buildup of alternative streaming universes, ones that don't depend on these tech giants at all. How hard is that, though, to actually start happening, or how likely is it?
Well, at the moment, it's very difficult. The landscape of tech platforms at the moment is pretty consolidated in that most people consume content through means that are supported by companies like Amazon through its Amazon Web Services product, or through Apple through its iPhone, or through Google through its browser. So in order to build up a tech ecosystem that is free of all those, where you could broadcast whatever content you like, then it's the kind of infrastructure that doesn't really exist right now. Sites like Gab are really straining under the weight of new traffic that they're receiving.
So this underinformed, over-socialized twat is telling us the infrastructure doesn't really exist to set up alternatives because, you're really beholden to the App Store and Amazon Web Services. I challenge you to a debate, punk.
This is nonsense.
Look at us. We are literally
five major video sources out there now.
Thank you. One of which is NoAgendaTube.com.
No Agenda Tube, which is, I wouldn't put in the top 5, but it's there. And then there's obviously the Federated and other chat systems. And then there's things that Signal is like, and Telegraph. All these things are out there, which people are condemning them.
And how about podcastindex.org, which is talking about podcasts.
And then the Podcast Index, by the way, which is your baby. You can toot your own horn, but as far as I'm concerned, I'll toot it. This is the alternative of alternatives that will prevent the future demise of podcasting. And it's something you recognized about a year or two ago, probably because of this show.
Of course. And
you decided to go ahead with this podcasting 2.0, which has taken off quite nicely and eventually will be absorbed into the great system.
Ecosystem.
But
yeah,
she's full of crap.
Go podcasting!
But I will say this: the pathetic thing is that she's got a voice, and people are asking her, why is she even around?
Well, you know what? She is the new wave. This is the same type of person who's at the New York Times.
Yeah, on No Agenda.